Good morning, 8th grade. We're going to finish up this section on the atmosphere, and this video will serve as a resource for you. I'm going to go through the workbook pages that you did, all those worksheets that I scanned in, and make sure you have the correct answers so you can study and we can finish this section up. So, page 48 was the first workbook page that I scanned. This was on the air around you workbook pages. Number 1, the condition of the Earth's atmosphere at a particular time and place is called weather. That is what we define as weather. Number 2, what is the Earth's atmosphere? The atmosphere is the envelope of gases that surrounds the planet. Number 3, you had to fill in a pie graph that where you labeled the pieces of the graph with the gases that they represent. So A was nitrogen. 78% of the Earth's atmosphere is nitrogen. And remember, and this was one of the questions that we had in one of the reviews, gases in dry air. We're talking about dry air. A lot of you on that review answered water vapor, but water vapor would not be considered dry air. So when it's asking for gases in dry air, it's 78% is nitrogen, the 21% is oxygen, and then it says use the graph to estimate how many times more nitrogen than oxygen makes up the air, almost 4 times, because if you think about quarters, you've got 75%, and then 1/4 is 25%. So we're just playing with the numbers a little bit there. So the answer to C is 4 times more nitrogen than oxygen. And D, what percentage of the air is made of nitrogen and oxygen together? And that would be almost 99%. 99%. So right around 1% is all the other gases, and then that would be argon was one of the gases that was included in that. Number 4, circle the letter of each sentence that is true about nitrogen. B, a nitrogen molecule has 2 nitrogen atoms. C, nitrogen is a gas. And D, nitrogen makes up more of the air than any other gas. Number 5, circle the letter of each sentence that is true about oxygen. That would be B, it is needed to release energy from food. And D, it may form ozone when it interacts with lightning. Okay, then we had page 49 where we started on number 6 at the top. Circle the letter of each sentence that is true about carbon dioxide. That would be A, it is essential to life. And B, it is given off by plants and animals as a waste product. Number 7, is the following sentence true or false? Carbon dioxide alone makes up almost 1% of dry air. That is false. Number 8, what particles does air contain? Air contains tiny solid and liquid particles of dust, smoke, salt, and other chemicals. Number 9, what particles does air contain? Water vapor. No, I'm sorry. Number 8, what particles does air contain? I just did that one. Air contains tiny, solid, and liquid particles of dust, smoke, salt, and other chemicals. I'm sorry. Number 9, water in the form of gas is called water vapor. Number 10, is the following sentence true or false? Water vapor is the same as steam. That is false. Number 11, what role does water vapor play in the Earth's weather? Water vapor forms clouds when it condenses out of the air to form tiny droplets of water or crystals of ice. The droplets of crystals fall as rain or snow if they become heavy enough, and we call that precipitation. Okay, importance of the atmosphere. We're on the bottom of your workbook, page 49. Number 12, how does the Earth's atmosphere make conditions on Earth suitable for living things. This is a long answer, so you can pause as you need to write this down. The atmosphere contains oxygen and other gases living things need to live. The atmosphere also keeps most of Earth's surface warm enough for water to exist as a liquid, which living things need, and it protects living things from dangerous radiation and being hit by objects from outer space. Okay, so that was the worksheets that we did on the atmosphere. Nope, we had one more. Page 50. The air around you, understanding main ideas. We had a table that you had to complete, gases and dry air and percent by volume. And this is where I pulled one of the questions for the review. So, let me see, all right, so gases and dry air, argon, number 1 is 0.93%. Number 2, carbon dioxide makes up 0.038%. Nitrogen, number 3 is 78%. Number 4 is oxygen, and it makes up 21%. Number 5, besides the gases shown in the table, what else is found in the Earth's atmosphere? That would be water vapor, other gases, particles of liquids, and solids. Number 6, what are 2 sources of carbon dioxide in the air? Plants and animals breaking down food to produce energy, and the burning of fuels such as coal and gasoline. Number 7, what are trace gases? Gases that are present in air in only small amounts. Number 8, how does the atmosphere make conditions on Earth suitable for living things? Long answer. So pause if you need to as you write this down. Make sure you have the correct answer. The atmosphere contains oxygen and other gases that living things need to survive. The atmosphere also keeps most of Earth's surface warm enough that water is liquid. The atmosphere protects living things from meteoroids and too much sunlight. Number 9, what are 2 processes that use oxygen? Burning, I'm going to give you more than 2. Burning, the formation of rust, and releasing energy from food. So any 2 of those. Okay, number 10, is the atmosphere always the same? Explain why or why not. No, the atmosphere is constantly changing with gases moving in and out of living things, the land and the water. And then we had some matching vocabulary with a definition. Number 11 is weather. That is D, the condition of the Earth's atmosphere at a particular time and place. 12, atmosphere is A, the envelope of gases that surrounds the Earth. Number 13, ozone is a form of oxygen. That's B, a form of oxygen that has 3 oxygen atoms in each molecule instead of the usual 2. Number 14, water vapor is C, and that's water in the form of gas. So that completes the answers for the workbook pages that went with the air around you. All right, this next section will be on the workbook pages for air pressure. That started on page 54. If you're looking at the page numbers at the bottom of your scanned workbook pages, you didn't have to do that. Use targeted reading skills. So number 1 was, suppose that you were not carrying anything on your back. Why do your shoulders still have pressure on them? So you would need to understand that the weight of the atmosphere itself is constantly pressing on your body. Number 2, properties of air. Circle a letter of each sentence that is true about air. That is A, air has mass because it is composed of atoms and molecules. B, because air has mass, it has density and pressure. And C, the more molecules in a given volume of air, the greater its density. Okay, on the workbook page 55 at the top, number 3, complete the cause and effect table to show the relationship among mass, volume, and density. Sorry, I've got to finish my coffee this morning. All right, so A, increases, B, decreases, C, increases, and D, decreases. So let's go back through that and get it all together. So if mass increases, the volume stays the same and the density increases. Okay? If mass decreases and the volume stays the same, then density decreases. If mass stays the same and volume decreases, then density increases. If mass stays the same and volume increases, then the density decreases. So A is increase, B is decrease, C is increases, and D is increases. And that's for number 3 on the top of the page 55. E, use the information in the table to write 1 or 2 sentences about the relationship among mass, volume, and density. You could say if volume stays the same, density increases as mass increases and decreases when mass decreases. Let me read that again. If volume stays the same, density increases as mass increases and decreases when mass decreases. Goodness, that's a mouthful. If mass stays the same, density increases when volume decreases and decreases when volume increases. Okay? You might have to go back and forth and pause on that to get all that down, but that's an example of an answer that you could say. Measuring air pressure. We're still on 55. Number 4. An instrument that is used to measure air pressure is a barometer. Okay, number 5. What is the difference between how air pressure is indicated in a mercury barometer and an aneroid barometer? You need to take good note on this because you will have to know this. A mercury barometer contains liquid mercury that is forced up a column when air pressure increases. An aneroid barometer has no liquid. The thin walls of this airtight metal chamber bulge when air pressure increases. Okay? Number 6, draw a line on the glass tube to show where the level of mercury might be if air pressure fell. All right, so as long as your line is anywhere below the level of mercury, you are correct. So your line would have to be below the level of mercury. Okay, 56, page 56, number 7. 2 different units used to measure air pressure are inches of mercury and millibars. Now, a lot of you just said inches when we did this review. I need you to be sure that you put inches of mercury or millibars on those 2 units, okay? Number 8, if air pressure is 30 inches, how many millibars of air pressure are there? And that answer is there are about 1,016 millibars. We're looking at altitude and the properties of air still on page 56 of the workbook page. Number 9, another word for elevation or distance above sea level is altitude. Number 10, is the following sentence true or false? Air pressure increases as altitude increases. That is false. Number 11, is the following sentence true or false? As air pressure decreases, so does air density. That is true. Number 12, why is air pressure greater at sea level than on the top of the mountain? On top of the mountain, air pressure is greater at sea level because sea level air has the weight of the whole atmosphere pressing down on it. The higher up you're going, the less air that you have pressing down. Number 13, is the following sentence true or false? As altitude increases, so does air density. That is false. Number 14, explain why mountain climbers sometimes bring tanks of oxygen along with them on their climbs. At high elevations, the air is less dense and less oxygen is taken in with each breath. Mountain climbers would quickly get out of breath at high altitudes if oxygen tanks were not available. And then number 15, circle the letter of the sentence that helps explain why you would have more difficulty breathing at high altitudes than at sea level. And the answer is D, the amount of oxygen in each breath is less as at high altitudes. And the last workbook page, number 57, that you had to do for air pressure, understanding main ideas. You're looking at this diagram, and it has at the top of the mountain A, and then closer at the bottom is B. So we're going to study the figure and then complete the following statements. Number 1, altitude is greater at point A, you're higher up. Air pressure is greater at point B because you're lower, so the pressure is greater. 3, density of the air is greater at point B. Again, you're at a lower altitude. Number 4, a cubic meter of air has less mass at point A. Number 5, the percentage of oxygen in the air at point A is about 21%. 6, state 3 properties of air. Okay. Mass, density, and pressure. Okay, so mass, density, and pressure, those are 3 properties of air. Also volume or temperature, those are properties, but things I want you to concentrate as far as what we're studying at this point would be mass, density, and pressure. 7, why doesn't air pressure crush objects such as your desk? Because pressure pushes from all directions. So you've got pressure coming down this way, and then, you know, it's not just flattening us, it's also pushing in. So the air pressure is pressing from all directions. Number 8, what 2 units of air pressure are commonly used in weather reports? That's inches of mercury. Please make sure you include that, of mercury. Inches of mercury and millibars. Building vocabulary. Number 9, air pressure is C, the result of the weight of column of air pushing down on an area. Use these answers to make sure your vocabulary is correct, that those definitions are correct. Some of you got a little bit off the wall and very general in your definitions, but we need to, when we look for definitions, we need to make sure we're finding definitions that's relevant to the subject that we're talking about. So use these definitions, make sure they're correct. 10, altitude is F, the distance above sea level. Number 11, aneroid barometer. That's a G, an instrument that measures air pressure without using liquid. The word aneroid actually means liquid free. Number 12, barometer. That is D, any instrument that measures air pressure. Number 13, density, that is A, the amount of mass in a given volume of air. Number 14, mercury barometer, that is E, an instrument that measures air pressure using liquid mercury. Number 15, pressure is B, the force pushing on an area or surface. So that completes your air pressure workbook pages, all the corrections. So make sure you have those corrections. Okay, the next set of workbook pages that you needed to do was on the layers of the atmosphere. It started on, they were numbered 63, 64, 65, and 66. So we're going to start on 63. You didn't have to do that. Use targeted reading skills. So let's start at number 1, the introduction on 63. We're looking at workbook pages for the layers of the atmosphere. So the 4 main layers of the atmosphere are classified according to changes in temperature. You're going to have to know that this they're classified at, they're divided up according to the temperature in the 4 main layers of the atmosphere. Troposphere, number 2, circle the letter of each sentence that is true about the troposphere. That is A, it is the lowest layer of the Earth's atmosphere. C, it is where Earth's weather occurs. And D, it is the shallowest layer of the atmosphere. Number 3, is the following sentence true or false? The troposphere contains almost all of the mass of the atmosphere. That is true. Number 4, true or false? As altitude increases in the troposphere, temperature also increases. That is false. As you go up, the temperature will decrease. So, page 64 at the top. Number 5, how does the depth of the troposphere vary? All right, this is a lengthy answer, so pause if you need to so you can write it down. The depth varies from more than 16 kilometers above the equator to less than 9 kilometers above the north and south poles. Number 6, is the following sentence true or false? At the top of the troposphere, the temperature stops decreasing. That is true. Number 7, we're talking about the stratosphere now. How far does the stratosphere extend above Earth's surface? It extends about 50 kilometers above Earth's surface. Number 8, circle the letter of each sentence that is true about the stratosphere. A, the temperature of the lower stratosphere is about negative 60 degrees Celsius. And C, the middle portion of the stratosphere contains a layer of ozone. Okay. Now we're talking about the mesosphere. Mesosphere, number 9, where does the mesosphere begin? It begins 50 kilometers above Earth's surface. Number 10, circle the letter of each sentence that is true about the mesosphere. B, it contains the coldest part of the atmosphere. And C, it protects Earth's surface from being hit by most meteoroids. Trying to not get my pages mixed up. Number 11, we're on page 65 now. Number 11, we're talking about the thermosphere. Circle the letter of each sentence that is true about the thermosphere. A, it is the outermost layer of the atmosphere. B, its air is very thin. And C, it has no definite outer limit. Okay. Why is the thermosphere so hot? This is number 12. Energy from the sun strikes the thermosphere first, and nitrogen and oxygen molecules in the air convert energy into heat. Number 13, why would an ordinary thermometer show a low temperature in the thermosphere? The thermosphere does not contain enough air molecules to collide with and warm an ordinary thermometer very much. Air is thin. Number 14, list the layers of the thermosphere and describe where each begins above the Earth's surface. So we're on number 14. A, the ionosphere begins 80 kilometers above the Earth's surface. B, the exosphere begins about 400 kilometers above the Earth's surface. Number 15, brilliant light displays that occur in the ionosphere is called the auroras. We sometimes hear them referred to as northern lights, which I'd love to see one day. Okay, so layers of the atmosphere continued. We're on the page 66, the scan page 66, understanding main ideas. You are to look at the graph. It shows altitudes and temperatures for the 4 main layers of the atmosphere. Label the 4 layers, then complete the statements that follow. So, number 1 shows the thermosphere. Number 2 is the mesosphere. Number 3, stratosphere. And 4, troposphere. Okay? Number 5 is the temperature in the atmosphere approaches negative 90 degrees Celsius at an altitude of about 80 kilometers. Number 6, the highest temperatures in the atmosphere occur in the thermosphere. Number 7, temperatures generally rise as altitude increases in the stratosphere and thermosphere layers of the atmosphere. 8, as you move up through the mesosphere, the temperature decreases. And then we have building vocabulary. Again, make sure your vocabulary is correct, okay? There'll be a lot of vocabulary that you'll need to know for the test. Number 9, the layer of the atmosphere where weather occurs is the troposphere. So that would be false. The corrected would be troposphere. Number 10 is false also. It's the stratosphere is the layer of the atmosphere that contains ozone. Number 11 is true. The exosphere is the outer layer of the thermosphere. Number 12 is false. Most meteoroids burn up in the mesosphere. Number 13 is false. The thermosphere is divided into the ionosphere and the exosphere. And number 14 is true. The ionosphere lies between the mesosphere and the exosphere. Okay? So that includes all of your workbook pages, the corrections for the layers of the atmosphere. The last section that was part of the atmosphere study that we're doing was air quality. And I just have to say, the air that y'all were breathing on spring break, some of you had the best responses. I thought that you took it seriously, and it was meant as a serious assignment to kind of take what you're doing and be conscious of what effect your environment is having on you. So a lot of you, some of you were lucky enough to have lake air. I didn't get any lake air over spring break. I had my good old yard air, which is what most of you had. Some of you only wanted to have house air, and that's fine. I'm not an inside person. I like to be outside. I did a lot of fishing, a lot of work in my yard. We did a lot of swimming. We went swimming. We have a pond on our property that I take the kids and we swim in. So I had a lot of outside air, which included a lot of pollen. A lot of you added that, and that is certainly true because we've all been sniffing throughout this whole week. So we're talking about air quality, workbook pages. The first workbook page that you had to do was numbered page 70. We talked about, I don't think I had you do that first section, use target reading skills. You have to have the textbook to do that. So I should have had that crossed out. So we're going to start with number 1. Number 1, harmful substances in the air, water, or soil is known as pollutants. Now, one of the things that I noticed when you did your definitions, some of you had some pretty crazy definitions and general definitions for pollutants. I want you to use the textbook definition. You need to know that for your test. So, harmful substances in the air, water, or soil is known as pollutants. Number 2, how can air pollution affect human health? You're going to need to know this. Air pollution can cause dizziness and headaches, eye, nose, and throat irritations, allergies, coughing, lung disease, and chest pains. Number 3, circle the letter of each sentence that is true about the causes of air pollution. A, some air pollution causes naturally. B, some air pollution is caused by human activities. And C, motor vehicles cause almost half of the air pollution from human activities. Number 4, what are some natural sources of particles in the atmosphere? Natural sources include molds, plant pollen, forest fires, soil erosion, dust storms, erupting volcanoes. One of the things that you've noticed, we talk about smoke, forest fires. They recently issued a burning ban in the state of South Carolina. And I've heard 2 different reasons. And I paid attention to this because during this time here on the weekends, we've been doing a lot of control burning on our property until they issued the burn ban. So I heard 2 different reasons why they issued that burn ban. both of them make perfect sense, so it could have been a combination of the two. One was to reduce state staff and the demands on state staffing. Uh, they cut back, they issued the burning bans so people wouldn't have to be called into work if fires got out of control. And the second reason was because of the pollution that it put in the air, the smoke that it put in the air. So people who were contracting the virus, that smoky air or the pollutants in the air could all make those symptoms a lot worse. So that's just an example of how paying attention to your air quality and things that you're putting in the air or it's present in the air where naturally are caused by humans, affect your health, and have a lot of trickle down effects all the way around. All right, so that was number 4 on page 70. So we'll move right along. Number 5, smog and acid rain. Some of y'all wanted to be cute on these answers, but you should have used your information sheet and made the correct the choices when we did our review. Number 5. Make sure I'm getting in the right way. Okay, number 5. The brown haze that forms over sunny cities like Los Angeles is called photochemical smog. Excuse me. Number 6. Circle the letter of each sentence that is true about photochemical smog. A. It is caused by the action of sunlight on chemicals. C. It forms ozone, which harms living things. And D, it's a mixture of ozone and other air pollutants, okay? So this is the ozone that is harmful, not the ozone that's talked about as a protective barrier in the stratosphere. This is a ozone that is produced in the thermosphere. It's air that we actually are breathing, and it can be harmful to living things. Number 7, what effects does ozone have on people and things? Ozone can irritate the eyes, throat, and lungs. It can also harm plants and other living things and damage certain materials. Number 8, true or false? One result of air pollution is acid rain. That is true. Complete the following flow chart. Show causes, results, and effects related to acid rain. So, burning high sulfur coal produces A, sulfur oxide. It combines with B, water, to form sulfuric acid, combined with particles to form C, acid rain, that harms trees, lakes, and ponds. On page 72, D, at the top, identify the causes of sulfur oxide as burning high sulfur coal causes sulfur oxide. E, how can sulfuric acid be both a result and a cause? It is a result of sulfur oxide combining with water. It is a cause of acid rain. F, what is the end effect of burning high sulfur coal? Trees and other living things are harmed by acid rain. So, one thing, and we'll get to number 11. I'm skipping ahead. I'm sorry. And the following sentence, number 10, is the following sentence true or false? Rain is not naturally acidic. That is false. Rain has some kind of acid property to it. Number 11, rain that contains more acid than what is normal is known as acid rain. It's really important that you know that definition of acid rain. It is rain that contains more acid than normal, okay? That's rain that contains enough acid that is above normal levels and it gets to a point where it's harmful. Number 12, how can acid rain affect trees such as pines and spruce? Pines and spruce, number 12. It may make tree needles turn brown or fall off. Number 13, how can acid rain harm lakes and ponds? It can make the water so acidic that plants, amphibians, fish, and insects can no longer survive in it. Number 14 is the following sentence true or false. Air quality is in this country has generally worsened over the past 30 years. That is false. It's gotten better. One of the EPA that monitors air quality. That's one of the things that you'll have to know. They have put in places and enacted certain laws that govern, they monitor air quality, and they make improvements in the way factories work and the way that cars are made. And so we've been making a lot of strides to improve the air quality in the last 30 years. Number 15, is the following sentence true or false? The air in many American cities is still polluted. That is true. As long as humans are around and doing what they do, there's still going to be pollution in the air. Okay, last workbook page, number 73 for air quality. We're understanding main ideas. Fill in the blanks in the flowchart with the words listed below. Number 1, burning fossil fuels. Number 2, farming. Number 2, dust storms. Number 3, farming. Number 4, forest fires. Number 5, pollutants. Number 6, air pollution. So let's kind of put that in. Burning fossil fuels, dust storms, farming, forest fires are sources of pollutants that cause air pollution. They are natural, more natural, well, some of them are not, but these are all ways that, these are all causes of air pollution. Number 7, this is one of those true or false. So if it's, number 7 is false, so I'm going to plug in the correct word to make it true. Almost half of air pollution from human activities comes from, hold on, sorry. Let me turn my phone off. All right, number 7. Almost half of air pollution from human activities comes from motor vehicles, not factories, motor vehicles. Number 8 is false also. Nitrogen oxides and sulfur oxides combine with water in the air to form acid rain. Acid rain. Number 9 is true. Soot refers to particles that give smoke its dark color. And number 10, that's false also. Photochemical smog is most likely to occur when it is sunny, because remember, it reacts with the sunlight. Building vocabulary, we're on number 11. We're at the bottom of page 73. Harmful substances in air, water, or soil are called pollutants. Number 12. Photochemical smog is a brown haze caused by the action of sunlight on chemicals. Number 13, rain that contains more acid than normal is known as acid rain. And number 14, ozone is a form of oxygen that is a pollutant in the troposphere. And that is all of the workbook pages that you had to do for this section. So please go back through your pages, make sure you make corrections and you're studying the correct things as we get ready for this test. We only have about 4 weeks left, so we're going to kind of hit the things that we need to do, start concentrating on our science fair projects. You'll have an assignment for that on Friday. But that's all I have for right now. Please call me if you have any questions. We will have a meeting through Google Meets tomorrow. It is mandatory, okay? You need to be there because we're going to take this time to review for everything and make sure everybody's ready for the test. All right, that's all I have. Y'all have a great day.